two, three, four. Who's that knocking at my door? 5, 6, 7, 8. Hurry up and don't be late. 9, 10, 11, 12. Got a secret I can tell. Clap your fins, flip your tail. School's out, ring a bell. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. 1, 2, 3, 4. Who's that knocking at my door? 5, 6, 7, 8. Hurry up and don't be late. 9, 10, 11, 12. Got a secret I can tell. Clap your fins, flip your tail. School's out, ring a bell.
Hey guys, I'm Bea. It's the first day of school again at Freshwater High and I can't wait to leave this aquarium and venture the open seas. But before that, do you know that in the human world, men and women have different roles? Let me, Oscar, and Milo tell you the women's place in a man's life cycle. The text begins with the second act of The Cherry Orchard, a play by Anton Chekhov. So here's what happens. Lopahin, a young merchant and a self-made man, persuades Madame Ranevskaya to cut down her cherry orchard in order to save her estate. However, she refuses, so he plans to buy it himself and replace the orchard with summer cottages so that the next generations will see a new life. His vision reveals his belief in human potential as he says, "At times when I can't go to sleep, I think, Lord, Thou givest us immense forests, unbounded fields, and the widest horizons, and living in the midst of them, we should indeed be giants." However, Madame Ranevskaya challenges his vision by saying, "You feel the need for giants. They are good only in fairy tales and anywhere else, they only frighten us." Pinapakita ng line ni Lopahin yung isa sa mga pinapaniwalaan natin na which is to always strive for greatness kahit sang aspect pa yan. However, Madame Ranevskaya's interruption reminds us that sometimes striving for greatness is something ideal for us humans, but it becomes really frightening when it mixes with the harsh reality of our lives. Madalas nating sinusubukan na intindihin at i-relate yung mga experiences natin tsaka yung mga pananaw natin sa reality na syempre nakadepende pa rin naman sa observer o kaya sa atin mismo. The brief excerpt from Chekhov's play suggests that when the observer is a woman, the perspective may be of a different sort, and when it is a man, it may also be different. In short, sinasabi lang nito na maaaring may magkaibang pananaw yung babae at yung lalaki. Today, kung makikita natin, pinagtutuunan na ng pansin yung pakikipaglaban sa equality sa parehong kasarian para syempre mawala na yung discrimination. Social sciences take part in knowing the differences between the two sexes sa pamamagitan ng iba't ibang mga discovery. Pero paano nga ba nakakatulong yung mga discovery na to sa pagkakaiba or sa pagtukoy sa mga pagkakaiba ng dalawang kasarian? This happens when theories which were considered as neutral actually reflect biases in favor of the other sex. In short, kapag yung tinuturing nila na neutral is hindi talaga neutral or may kinikilingan ito na isang sex. Pero syempre, tulad na lang ng mga wika natin, yung mga categories or theories na to ay gawa lang din naman nating mga tao, so ibig sabihin mas prone talaga sila na magkaroon ng bias. Meanwhile, these points of views were applied in different stories or novels in the 20th century, leading to the realizations that people's judgment comes from their own point of view, and the accustomed point of view that the world tries to see is through the eyes of men. Halimbawa na lang yung sa discovery mula sa The Elements of Style in A Strong Cat White, kung saan napansin ng isang English teacher na sa pamamagitan ng isang Supreme Court ruling tungkol sa sex discrimination, na kadalasan daw na tinuturuan yung mga bata ng mga examples na nakafocus sa pananaw ng mga kalalakihan. Psychological theorists observe that the male life had become the norm while women are defined according to these men's standards. Pinapaniwalaan din nila na nagmula ito sa kwento ni na Adam and Eve. Well, kung familiar kayo sa creation story, di ba sinasabi na ginawa raw si Eve mula sa rib ni Adam? Tapos, dun naman sa first betrayal, di ba si Eve yung kumain ng forbidden fruit which made her the deviant? From this, it was depicted that a woman made from a man will always cause trouble. The desire of these developmental theories to promote a masculine image that is feared by women was begun by Freud. Pero sino nga ba si Sigmund Freud? Sigmund Freud is a renowned theorist who built his theory of psychosexual development in the 1920s. His theory was built from the lens of a male child, leading to the Oedipus complex. Ano nga ba ang Oedipus complex? Isa itong theory kung saan sinasabi na nagkakaroon ng pagnanasa ang isang bata sa kanyang opposite sex parent at nakakaranas naman ito ng inggit sa kanyang same-sex parent. Tinatawag naman itong Electra complex sa kababaihan. However, he struggled to adjust the contradictions to this theory considering the differences between the male and female anatomy as well as the early family relationships of a girl. Later on, he came to a conclusion that a girl's connection with her mother portrayed a different development from men's. From this, mapapansin natin na yung theory ni Freud parang nakafocus lang siya sa male development and onti lang yung insights niya sa kababaihan and parang pinaportray niya pa sila as envious. Later on, yung developmental difference ng kababaihan na na-observe niya, which is yung connection ng girl sa mother niya, was considered as a failure. Dahil paniniwala niya na parang hindi dumadaan sa same level ng Oedipus complex yung mga babae, di katulad ng mga lalaki. Castration anxiety is something na nararanasan ng mga boys during their childhood. It is defined as the fear of loss of genitals as a punishment for having a strong desire for her mother. Meanwhile, yung superego naman is a part of the unconscious that includes the morals and values of the society guiding a person's behavior. Sinasabi ni Freud na yung development ng superego ay connected sa castration anxiety na nararanasan ng mga lalaki. Since limited nga yung insights niya tungkol sa kababaihan, he believed that they didn't have the same anxiety as their Electra complex is weaker. Bukod pa rito, sinasabi niya rin na malaki yung impluwensya ng emotions tsaka yung personal relationships sa moralidad ng kababaihan. Dahil dito na-conclude niya na maraming pagkakaiba sa formation ng superego ng mga babae at lalaki. Sinasabi niya rin na mas less objective and less strict ang kababaihan kung ikukumpara sa kalalakihan. The influence of relationship experience was identified as a problem in the development of women. In 1974, Nancy Chodorow tried to explain the constant difference in personality traits and roles between men and women from generation to generation, not by the anatomy of the different sexes, but because women are usually the early and main caregivers of children. Mula rito sinasabing ang pagkakaroon ng iba't ibang experience ng dalawang kasarian ay nagdudulot ng iba't ibang paraan ng pagbuo ng kanilang personality. Higit pa, sa anumang lipunan, ang mga personalidad ng mga kababaihan ay nakasentro sa mga relasyon at koneksyon habang ang malalaki naman ay mas nakatuon sa kanilang sariling layunin. Chodorow based her analysis on the studies conducted by Robert Stroller, who described gender identity as the unchanging core of personality formation. Sinabi ni Stroller na ang pagbuo ng pagkakakilanlan ng parehong kasarian ay na magtitibay kapag umabot na ang bata sa 3 taong gulang. Despite the fact that the primary caretakers of children until they are 3 years old are usually females, there is still a significant difference between the intrapersonal dynamics or the patterns of interaction and relationships of boys and girls. In the case of females, their identity formation is deeply connected to their relationships, considering that their mothers view their daughters as extensions of themselves. Samantala, natutukoy naman ng mga batang babae ang kanilang sarili bilang mga babae batay sa mga pagkakatulad na naobserbahan nila sa kanilang mga ina. Ang mga ganitong pangyayari ay nagdudulot ng mas malakas na connection sa pagitan ng dalawa na nakaka-impluwensya sa pagdevelop ng kanilang pagkakakilanlan. On the other hand, mothers perceive their sons as individuals who are different from them, allowing boys to recognize the distinctions between themselves and their mothers. This distinction leads to the discovery of their masculinity. Dahil dito, sinasabing ang development ng kalalakihan ay isang komplikadong proseso dahil kabilang dito ang pagbuo ng sarili nilang boundaries sa iba at ganoon na rin ang pag-navigate ng mga potential sexual issues na wala ang mga kababaihan. Chodorow opposed the observed masculinity bias by arguing that the differences between the early experiences of both sex does not imply that women have weaker ego boundaries that make them more susceptible to mental health issues than men. She contradicted the negative female psychology of Freud through her own account by implying that girls have a greater foundation in terms of experiencing others' needs as their own or of thinking that one is experiencing another's needs and feelings. In simpler terms, girls have a stronger basis in putting themselves in someone else's shoes or they are more empathetic than boys. Men and women have different experiences with issues of dependency. Para sa mga lalaki, ang mga issues sa dependency ay nakabigkis sa kanilang gender identity dahil nakakatulong ang paghiwalay nila sa kanilang mga ina sa pagbuo ng kanilang pagkalalaki o masculinity. Bukod pa rito ay nagkakaroon sila ng emotional distance at napagtitibay nila ang kanilang tiwala sa sarili na kung mapapansin natin ay likas na sa pagkakakilanlan nila sa lipunan. Samantala, sa kababaihan naman ay makikita ang problema sa dependency sa kanilang mga attachments o relasyon sa iba. Gayunpaman, wala itong kaugnayan sa kanilang pagkababae di tulad ng sa kalalakihan. This being said, intimacy is a threat that is challenging for men, leading to difficulties when it comes to relationships. On the other hand, separation is a threat for women, leading to issues with individuation. The attachment that characterizes women is not just a distinction to men, but also a potential risk that hinders one's development, considering that this development signifies growth and independence. Thus, women's failure to separate leads to developmental failure. Mead and Piaget were two psychologists who studied children's games, defining them as tests that evaluate social development during the school years. Games allow children to see themselves through others' eyes by taking on and experimenting with different roles. They also teach children to respect and obey rules, since a game cannot exist without rules, while understanding that these rules are created and can be changed. Piaget argued that rule-bound games help children learn and respect rules, which is essential for moral development. In 1969, Lawrence Kohlberg added that this learning is most effectively achieved through role-taking moments, which typically occurs when settling disputes. This research on children's games during middle childhood plays a crucial role in understanding the differences between men and women in terms of personality formation. With the observation that peer groups are the primary instrument of socialization during the primary school years and games as the major activity of socialization during her time, in 1976, Janet Lever, a sociologist, conducted a study if there are sex differences in the games of children. Her study involved 181 participants who are in the 5th grade, white, middle class, and whose age ranges from 10 to 11. She analyzed the organization and structure of their playtime activities during the recess and physical education while also keeping track of their activities beyond school hours. Mula sa pag-aaral na ito, napansin niya na kumpara sa mga babae, mas madalas maglaro sa labas sa mga batang lalaki sa malalaking grupo na may mga batang nasa iba't ibang edad. Ikalawa, kadalasan ng mga laro ng kalalakihan ay mas matagal kumpara sa mga babae dahil ito ay mga kompetisyon kaya't hindi ito nakakainip at nangangailangan ng mas mataas na kakayahan. Ikatlo, kapag nagkakaroon ng hindi pagkakaunawaan o away, mas epektibo nilang napagkakasunduan ito. Batay sa obserbasyon ni Lever, hindi nagtatagal ng higit sa 7 minuto ang kanilang mga alitan at hindi ito naging dahilan upang matapos ang laro. Bagamat palaging ang kasagutan sa mga alitan ay pag-uulit ng laro, napansin din niyang mas na-enjoy ng mga batang lalaki ang mga ganitong alitan kumpara sa laro mismo at anuman ang kakayahan ng bawat isa, lahat ay nakikilahok sa ganitong alitan. Based on these observations, Lever supports Piaget's claim that boys during childhood develop a fascination with legal discussions about rules and the establishment of fair procedures for addressing conflicts, a fascination that is not typically found in girls. Samantala, sinasabing mas pragmatic o praktikal ang mga kababaihan sa mga rules dahil tinitignan nila ang mga ito bilang tama at mabuti kung nakakatulong ito sa tagumpay ng laro. Bukod pa rito ay mas mabilis mag-adapt ang mga babae sa pagbabago ng mga patakaran at mas bukas sila sa mga pagkakaiba nila sa mga lalaki. Pagdating sa legal na konsepto, kumpara sa mga lalaki ay mas konti ang pagunlad nito sa mga batang babae. The basis of the discussion of Lever's result lies on their observation that the male model is the better model compared to the female model, since its qualities fit perfectly the requirement to become successful in the modern corporate world. Meanwhile, it was observed that girls develop sensitivity and care for others' feelings through their play. This quality possesses a minimal worth in the society and may potentially hinder professional success. This being said, Lever claims that given the conditions of adulting, if a girl wants to be fully independent of men, she must act and play like a man. On the other hand, these role-taking opportunities occur rarely in girls' play, considering that their games are usually turn-taking games, such as jump rope or hopscotch, where there is no direct competition since one's success does not imply another's failure. Thus, conflicts over who wins or loses are unlikely to arise. In fact, most conflicts that emerge in girls' games based on Lever's interview led to the game's termination. That being said, girls prioritize the continuation of relationships over the continuation of the game itself by discussing the rules to resolve such disputes. Mula sa pag-aaral na ito, kinoconclude ng Lever na natututunan ng mga batang lalaki ang pagiging independent at ang mga organizational skills na kinakailangan sa mas malaki at mas diverse na grupo sa pamamagitan ng mga laro. Bukod pa rito, ang paglahok sa mga kompetitibong laro ay nagpapahintulot sa kanila na humarap at unawain at makipagkompetensya ng patas, maging kalaban o kaibigan man ang kanilang kalaro, habang sumusunod sa mga patakaran ng laro. Sa mga kababaihan naman, ang kanilang mga laro ay kadalasang nasa maliit lang na pangkat o madalas pa ay dadalawa lamang sila sa mas pribadong lugar o indoors. May halin tulad ang ganitong laro sa ugnayan natin sa bawat isa dahil binibigyang din nito ang kooperasyon at suporta sa bawat isa at kompetisyon. Sa mga kababaihan naman, ang kanilang mga laro ay kadalasang nasa maliit lang na pangkat o madalas pa ay dadalawa lamang sila sa mga mas pribadong lugar o di kaya indoors. May halin tulad ito sa ugnayan natin sa bawat isa dahil binibigyang din nito ang kooperasyon at suporta sa bawat isa at hindi kompetisyon. Bukod pa rito, binibigyang din ang pagkakaroon ng pagbuo ng empathy at pag-unawa sa pagkakaiba ng bawat isa kaysa naman sa pag-unawa sa mga relasyon sa pangkalahatang paraan. Mula sa pag-aaral na ito, kinoconclude ng Lever na natututunan ng mga batang lalaki ang pagiging independent at ang mga organizational skills na kinakailangan sa mas malaki at mas diverse na grupo sa pamamagitan ng mga laro. Bukod pa rito, ang paglahok sa mga kompetitibong laro ay nagpapahintulot sa kanila na humarap at unawain at makipagkompetensya ng patas, maging kalaban o kaibigan man ang kanilang kalaro, habang sumusunod sa mga patakaran ng laro. Sa mga kababaihan naman, ang kanilang mga laro ay kadalasang nasa maliit lang na pangkat o madalas pa ay dadalawa lamang sila sa mga mas pribadong lugar o di kaya indoors. May halin tulad ito sa ugnayan natin sa bawat isa dahil binibigyang din nito ang kooperasyon at suporta sa bawat isa at hindi kompetisyon. Bukod pa rito, binibigyang din ang pagkakaroon ng pagbuo ng empathy at pag-unawa sa pagkakaiba ng bawat isa kaysa naman sa pag-unawa sa mga relasyon sa pangkalahatang paraan. Oh wait, I gotta go. I'll let Oscar continue the discussion. I need to eat lunch.
Oh, hello there. My name is Oscar. But you told me that you want to learn more about the human world? Well, okay, let me continue where she left. Did you know that Freud states that puberty, which brings about so great an accession of libido in boys, is marked in girls by a fresh wave of repression, suggesting that it is necessary for the transformation of young girls' masculine sexuality into the specifically feminine sexuality of her adulthood. He believes that puberty affects men and women differently. As the human development starts, unlike men who solely focuses on the mental, emotional, and physical changes during puberty, women or girls experience repression on top of all those changes. Well, not only that, Freud also assumes that this transformation on the girl's acknowledgement and acceptance of the fact of her castration, puberty brings a new awareness of the wound on her narcissism, and leads her to develop, like a scar, a sense of inferiority. He believes that the lack of masculine sexuality or features of girls, such as the physical characteristics of having testicles, has an impact on the gender norms and societal expectations on the women's sense of self. Because of this, women who have feminine sexuality or traits are often viewed as inferior. Thus, girls are prone to view themselves as inferior, especially during puberty. Erik Erikson's expansion of Freud's psychoanalytic account, adolescence is the time when development hinges on identity. Girls arrives at this juncture either psychologically at risk or with a different agenda. In 1950, Erikson charts 8 stages of psychosocial development. It is believed that the problem that female adolescence presents for theorists of human development is apparent in Erikson's scheme. Erik Erikson further expanded the psychoanalytic account of Freud. He believes that the adolescence or puberty is the time when girls start to feel the psychological risks of this masculine sexuality mindset. The 5th stage on Erikson's 8 stages of psychosocial development is adolescence. According to Erikson, this stage focuses on the development of a sense of self. The first stage is stage 1, trust versus mistrust, focusing on the development of relationship. Stage 2, autonomy versus shame and doubt, focuses on the development of independence, gaining a sense of personal control. Stage 3, initiative versus guilt. This is when, with their personal control, individuals go through the crisis of initiative versus guilt. Stage 4, industry versus inferiority. This is the stage of trial and error, where individuals develop skills and figure out what they are good at, which they acquire through observing their parents. Erik Erikson believed that the first four stages of psychosocial development supplement the fifth stage, which is the adolescence. This stage focuses on the development of sense of self to verify an identity that can span the discontinuity of puberty and make possible the adult capacity to love and work. This stage is important as this is when we start to develop our identity through our ideology, which we will use later on in life. But did you know that Erikson is only talking about the male psychosocial development? Erikson suggests that the female psychosocial development follows a different sequence. He states that a female put her identity temporarily on hold in preparation in attracting the man by whose name she will be known, by whose status she will be defined, the man who will rescue her from emptiness and loneliness by filling their inner space. Basically saying that unlike men whose identity is more than intimacy and generalization, a female's identity is dependent on the status and identity of her partner. That women need men to fill the emptiness in their inner space, he believes that intimacy is important for women, as this determines their identity. A woman can be identified through her man or partner. Despite the sex differences, the chart of life cycle stages remains unchanged. Identity continues to precede intimacy as male experience continues to define his life cycle conception. Erikson describes male identity as forged in relation to the world, while female identity as awakened in a relationship of intimacy with another person. This is supported by the idea of an Austrian psychologist, Bruno Bettelheim, in fairy tales. While the story of men follows an adventure like in the Three Languages, where the son is disowned by his father and later came back after emerging victorious in his adventure. While the story of women follows a state of passivity, like in the story of Snow White and Sleeping Beauty, wherein their story is a counterpart of an adventure. Because these heroines awake from their sleep to marry the prince, thus their identity is only inwardly and interpersonally defined. Furthermore, Maxine Hong Kingston, an American novelist, also stated that active adventure is a male activity. If a woman wants to go on an adventure, she must dress like a man. A great example of this is the Disney princess Mulan. According to David McClelland, and the American psychologist, sex role turns out to be one of the most important determinants of human behavior. Psychologists have found sex differences in their studies from the moment they started doing empirical research. The behavior of males were deemed as the norm, while the female behavior was considered different because most of the interpretation of research data were derived from studies on males. Because women typically do not conform to the standards of psychological expectation set on male behavior, psychologists suggest that there is something wrong with women. Men and women have a different kind of sense on situations of competitive achievement. Martina Horner, an American psychologist, found that women display a different reaction, an anxiety on a competitive achievement. Research on human motivation using TAT or thematic perception test. This is a type of test describing ambiguous scenes to learn more about a person's emotions, personality, and motivations. Has evidence of sex differences making the data analysis harder. The concept of achievement motivation is divided into two logical components by McClelland: motive to approach success or hope success, and motive to avoid failure or fear failure. While studying women, on the other hand, Horner identified a third category: the unlikely motivation to avoid success or fear success. This fear of success is rooted on the conflict of femininity and success. An example is, after first term finals, Anne finds herself at the top of her medical school class. So, when success is likely or possible, threatened by the negative consequences they expect to follow success, young women become anxious and their positive achievement strivings become thwarted. This fear of success is because success is deemed to be masculine. Women who excel, especially against men, are subject to threat of social rejection and loss of femininity. In 1980, on the other hand, Georgia Sassen suggests that women have a heightened perception of the other side of competitive success. The great emotional cost at which success achieved through competition is often gained. Women think that there is something wrong with this success being defined through grades. Sassen also states that only when the achievement was competitive, such as when one success is another's failure, is anxiety present in women. Erikson cites the life of George Bernard Shaw, an Irish playwright and critic, to expound the meaning of identity crisis and illustrate a young child who entered a career prematurely because of his success in a career. However, he cannot wholeheartedly like that career. Shaw stated that the experienced crisis at the age of 20 because of too much success and recognition, not the other way around. He believed that his success in that business was holding them captive. Thus, he decided to break loose the moment he got the chance, and decided to focus on studying and writing as he pleased. However, they did not interpret this as an evidence of neurotic anxiety on achievement and competition. Rather, they referred to this as extraordinary works of an extraordinary personality coming to the fore. Gilligan suggests that we must focus on why men readily accept and celebrate narrow vision of success, and not why women view competitive success as something rotten. The Piaget's observation, supported by Lever, states that boys are focused on rules, while girls are focused on relationships, even if that will cost them the game. Chodorow concluded that men's social orientation is positional, while women's is personal. That's why when Anne becomes John in Horner's tale of competitive success, fear of success disappears because John is considered to have played by the rules, and thus he has the right to feel good about his success. However, for Anne, it is possible that being the top of her medical school class might not be what she wants. Rather, she wants to develop relationships with her classmates as her social orientation is personal. Virginia Woolf says that women have different values than men. However, the masculine values prevail in our society. Because of this, women question their feelings and more often than not, alter their judgments to follow the masculine values. Also, the prevalence of masculine values hinders the women in speaking their voices publicly, as they want to avoid divided judgment of the public. However, this is considered as the women's strength. Amidst their social subordination, the moral concern of women led to their deference. Their sensitivity and responsibility to others led women to attend the voices and point of views of others. On the other hand, women's moral weakness is inseparable from women's strength, an overriding concern with relationships and responsibilities. Women judge themselves in terms of their ability to care. Callaghan states that a woman's place in man's life cycle has always been that of a nurturer, caretaker, and helpmate, the weaver of those networks of relationships on which she in turn relies. They are viewed as someone who must only support their partner on the sidelines. Despite their care, men devalue and takes this care for granted. Millier believes that concern with relationships is not a human strength, but a weakness of women when we are talking about the focus of individuation and individual achievement in adulthood, and maturity is equated with personal autonomy. Okay, so I'm so tired now, I can't continue this discussion anymore. Oh wait, let me introduce you to my cousin Milo.
Hello, I'm Milo. How's your day at Freshwater High? Oh, you're learning the woman's place in a man's life cycle of Carol Gilligan? Okay, let me tell you more. So, in line of the differences of men and women, the discrepancy between womanhood and adulthood is very evident sa research ng several researchers noong 1972. Ang findings nila ay yung mga ability na think autonomously, clear decision-making, and responsible action ay associated sa masculinity. So basically, yung mga attributes na to dapat sa mga lalaki lang at di sila bagay pagdating sa mga babae. This suggests a splitting of love and work, sabi rito sa baba. So, sinasabi na yung mga kababaihan ay dapat nasa mga bahay lang kasi sila yung may expressive capacities like caring for others. While yung mga lalaki ay meron silang instrumental abilities na ginagamit for working. This is the reason why unbalanced yung concept ng adulthood. But, if you really think about it, hanggang ngayon naman na-experience natin to or nakikita natin sa society natin. When it comes naman sa moral development, the importance of intimacy, relationships, and care is only felt by men during their midlife, while women have known it their whole lives. So, merong discrepancy concepts na to when it comes to men and women. Since women have known this knowledge since start of their lives, yung mga psychologists sabi nila, ay, so since alam naman nila yan for a long time na, parang intuitive or instinctive na sa kanila yan. Meaning, nakaprogram na sa kanila yan. That is why, hindi na further inaral yung mga development when it comes to women. Since at that time, nung sinusulat tong book na to. Pero kung titignan natin tong nasa baba, si Carol Gilligan naman na-discover niya na yung women's development ay nakasenter pala sa knowledge ng intimacy, relationships, and care. Bali, ito yung dahilan bakit konti lang yung mga alam about women development during that time. At sobrang mysterious ng topic back then. So since sobrang mysterious ng topic about women's development back then, ginajudge ni Freud yung concept ng justice or morals ng mga babae. Just like kung ano nakasulat dito sa ibaba. Women's sense of justice is compromised at it refuses blind impartiality. So parang sinasabi niya na hindi fair when it comes to women yung justice. Yung ibang psychologist naman na nag-aaral ng early development research, halos centered around boys yung mga sample nila. Si Piaget, sinet aside niya yung women kasi sabi niya yung preferable na sample is mga male lang. Tapos si Kohlberg naman, which is yung focus natin, di niya kinonsider yung females. Parang di sila talaga nag-exist ganun. Kahit sabi niya na may universality yung research niya. Sa findings niya, yung mga deficient pagdating sa moral development were women. Kasi nasa stuck sila sa third stage, kung saan yung morality is conceived in interpersonal terms and goodness sa helping and pleasing others. Sabi ni Kohlberg and Kramer, factional yung goodness na yung na mention kanina kasi nagagamit to ng mga babae kasi they spend most of their lives at home. Ayon sa kanilang dalawa, para mag-progress ang women further sa moral development, ay need nila may experience kung ano yung traditional arena of male activity. To experience things men do and how men experience it, kumbaga. Only then, dun nila marirealize kung ano yung kulang sa moral perspective nila. Yung next stage kasi, which is yung stage 4, ay focus sa rules. At yung stage 5 to 6 ay focus sa justice. Take note of these two, rules at yung justice. Sabi ni Carol Gilligan, when one begins to study women and derive developmental constructs from their lives, the outline of a moral conception is different from that described by Freud, Piaget, Kohlberg, that begins to emerge. So, since sobrang focus ng tatlong psychologists na to men and their developmental conception, kapag yung mga women, when it comes to moral conceptions, nag-iiba yung outline or yung way sa kung paano sila nagpo-progress. The problem arises from conflicting responsibilities rather than competing rights. Actually, may paradox dito sa baba. Yung main definition ng goodness sa mga babae, which is yung care and sensitivity nila to others, ay yung same factor na pumipigil sa kanila na mag-progress sa moral development. Kung iisipin mo nga naman, kung caring ka at sensitive ka sa mga iba, bakit di ka magpo-progress sa morality, di ba? If you see dito sa baba, ganito yung outline na makakome up if women focus yung research na gagawin about sa moral development. Nakafocus to sa responsibility and relationships, while yung sa men nakafocus sa fairness, which is defined by rights and rules. Katulad nung kanina, rights and rules. This is the reason bakit hindi makaprogress yung mga babae sa sistema ni Kohlberg sa morality of rights versus morality of responsibility. Where morality of rights, which is yung sa men, nakafocus sa individuality. Yung morality of responsibility naman, which is yung sa women, nakafocus siya sa relationships as a primary. Since nga, alam na mga babae yung importance of relationships since pagkabuhay nila. Meron sagot dito sa isang rights and responsibility studies na galing sa isang babae. Very strong sense of being responsible to the world. Dito naman, ginamit ni Carol Gilligan yung myth of Demeter and Persephone, which is yung Greek mythology as cited by Maclelland. If di kayo familiar dito, kukwento ko siya briefly. Si Demeter ay goddess of harvest, fertility, and earth. Yung anak niya ay si Persephone. One day, naglalaro si Persephone sa forest, then nakakita siya ng Narcissus, which is yung flower. Tapos, tumakbo siya para kunin to. Tapos, biglang bumuka yung lupa. Tapos, kinuha siya ni Hades, yung god of the underworld. Si Demeter naman, nag-grieve siya kasi nawawala yung daughter niya. Tapos, ginawa niyang infertile yung earth para walang tumubo. Sa sobrang ano neto, na maraming namatay. Si Zeus naman naawa siya kasi maraming namamatay ng mga tao, kaya kinumbinsi niya si Hades para ibalik si Persephone. Pero bago umalis si Persephone, kumain siya ng pomegranate seeds para kalahati ng taon doon siya kay Demeter at kalahati ng taon doon naman siya kay Hades. Pinakita sa story na to yung strengths of interdependence. It is a special presentation of feminine psychology. Narcissism leads to that fertility of the earth is some mysterious way tied to the continuation of the mother-daughter relationship. And lastly, yung life cycle itself arises from an alternation between the world of women and that of men. So, in conclusion, ano nga ba yung place of a woman in a man's life cycle? The woman's place in a man's life cycle is to remind them of the importance of attachment in the human life cycle, to give a different point of view and order to human experience in terms of different priorities. In a world na focus sa individualism, andun ang mga babae to remind the importance of the recognition of relationships. Only when life cycle theorists divide their attention and begin to live with women as they have lived with men will their vision encompass the experience of both sexes and their theories become correspondingly more fertile.